Hi, everyone, and welcome to another wonderful week. And welcome to the month of April. We want to first apologize for not being able to host any program during the month of May due to health issues. But I want to welcome everyone. My name is Dr. Alice Leon Stevens. I am the CEO and founder of Holistic Elevation. With me today, we have a wonderful guest and a wonderful community partner with us who will share a little about herself. I love individuals to be able to share about themselves and to
Yes,
create
indeed.
their own identity. So the floor is yours.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Alice. My name is Joanne Ernsberger, and I'm the founder of an LLC called Equessential Growth Strategies, which is an organization dedicated to professional development and personal growth. We do leadership and team building workshops, retreats, and then I have a nonprofit called the Backyard Barn Foundation, which treats special focus groups, foster children, children in trauma, women in transition, and people in recovery, and seniors. We've had some seniors come through our programs. So we are busy, but we love to be busy. So I'm a native Delawarean. I went to the University of Delaware and I attended seminary for a couple of years. My background is in business and the performing arts and teaching. And I'm a certified equine assisted learning practitioner. And that means that we use horses as the modality for healing and change in non mounted activities. So that's what I've been doing with corporations and individuals for years. I've had 45 years of experience with horses, and I still learn something every day. So I'm very, very happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And before we go on and we move forward, we wanted to be able to acknowledge the month of April. This is Sexual Awareness Prevention Month, and we want to be able to acknowledge everyone out there who is providing support, who may have been a victim as a result and is still thriving through those challenges they have gone through. So we did wanted to acknowledge and recognize individuals within the community. Yesterday, the governor signed the proclamation for Sexual Awareness Month in the state of Delaware. So it was a great honor to be present during this proclamation
Mhm.
during that time. So I want to just share the love out there to everyone who may have been a victim of sexual assault or who may know of someone who have gone through and who's also an advocate for
Yes.
victims of sexual assault. So,
Mhm.
Ms. Joanne, can you share with us a little about your company and how exactly did you develop your company?
Okay, well, I have a story of my own in regards to childhood trauma and abandonment. And I've been blessed with a great deal of resilience and strength. And I became very aware of just realizing that we can actually put up boundaries away from getting good into our lives because we're so used to feeling unworthy, not listened to. One of the programs that we have is called Horses Helping Her, and it addresses the whole topic of sexual assault and the trauma and the shame that goes with it. And, because after all, in a world where some women are taken out, cast down, cast aside, we have to make it. We have to survive. We have children, we have husbands, we have jobs to sustain. And some of us are fighting addiction and depression and low self esteem, and our communication is lost and from congruence. So we wonder if we're good enough in our lives and our jobs and friendships, but we must survive. So out of this need grew our Manifest Courage and Embrace Change workshop. And it's very personalized, it's very customized according to the groups of the individuals. And sometimes we just don't believe in ourselves, but we keep going despite the small, ugly voices that harshly are telling us the odds, and we go on. So our stories are unique. I have a some motto is that all of us, our lives are interwoven into this beautiful tapestry of life, and they're all different colors and they're all shades, and some of them are covered with tears and some of the tapestry is wrung out, but it all complements the pattern. All of these things and all of these colors and hues and conditions complement the pattern of life. And the minute we engage in therapeutic relationships, empathy, genuineness, respect, self disclosure without risk, warmth, immediacy, responding to the humanity of another person, not when they deserve it, but when they need it,
Mhm.
serving people, and then we go into servant leadership in the community. I think that, everybody remembers the movie The Titanic, and of course the historical ship that sank. Well, that iceberg was only seen, 10% of it was seen above the waterline, and a whole 90% was underneath. And that's sort of like the human condition. What we see and what we show to the world is only 10%. There's that whole 90% that's beneath the surface. And I think if we grow in empathy and emotional intelligence, that's when we can really come together and empower each other, and especially the women. Do you know that the National Alliance on Mental Illness said that in annual terms, 46 million people are plagued by mental illness and trauma each year? That's 1 out of 5 people. And I read that it's the women are 2 to 3 out of 5 of those people.
Yeah, so mental health is one of the major areas that we downplay. And I tell individuals, when you think of mental health, especially within among women, we want to create a threshold where our relationship are perfect within the ideal concept of what society has created. You hear
Correct.
it many times, especially for me being in the mental health field. A lot of women come and they're like, oh no, I don't want to talk to my friends because they will think that there something is wrong with me, or I don't want to talk to them because they will see my spouse as somebody negative, and they keep that within themselves, that it causes a high level of depression, other challenges within their lives as well. So when you think of mental health among women, especially with COVID right now,
Hmm.
and the implication that while there are individuals who are going to work and were able to separate themselves from the household, now they have to work from home. So that means
Hmm.
that there is no reduction in their responsibilities,
Exactly.
but addition to those responsibilities. So when you think of being a CEO of a company, and then you have to be able to take care of the children, or you probably a person that may have to go and just whatever, Comcast, and working from home, and that person have to take care of their children as well. Now you have to rush and prepare food for them, and you have to take care of your spouse, you have to take care of the
Hmm.
functionings of the household. It is the platform that society has created for women, has created a spare of mental health challenges, because women have a difficulty in expressing the challenges sometimes that they face within the household overall, to say, hey, my girl, I need help, or hey, this is what I'm going through.
That's right. Yeah, there's no the whole work life balance thing is completely different now. They used to have work life balance workshops in corporations, so that but it's all the same now for so many of us working remotely. And self care is not selfishness.
Yeah.
Optimal self care is the way of the land these days. So I think resistance is not our friend. Resistance and fear are the enemies of courage and progress. The resistance and resentment are two of the greatest buzzkills to change that we can face. I think, not I think, I know that they hold us back from being our best. They hold us back from being truthful. They hold us back from asking for help. And when it comes to actually defining and making changes that last, fear creeps in, because why? The ego likes comfort.
Mm-hmm.
Ego loves comfort. Don't change anything, even if it's ugly. I'll wear it. Even if it just let me stay in my misery. So it comes against our truth and our joy and our peace, and so we resist. So if we can get to a place where we can construct courage, even in small steps, and support our dreams and our goals, change will come. We will welcome change because it will feel normal. It will feel comfortable in incremental steps of success.
Yeah, so when it comes to change, I tell we need to be able to rethink, like when we think of, okay, you know what, in the 1960s and the years prior, the role of a woman was to be able to stay home and provide for her family. And within the workplace, I remember one of the Persians, her name was Tayyire. And Tayyire was one of those women that
Mm.
women were not allowed to come in and have an education. They were not allowed to be among men. But Tahire's father, she stand behind the curtains for her to be able to get education, to be able to push through and empower women. And Tahire was also known as a pure one because she was one of those who initiated and empower women to be able to go through. So when we look at the yes prior and the role of women, it was to be able to take care of the household. Your responsibility was to clean. Your responsibility was to make sure your spouse has a hot meal when he comes home. Your
Hmm.
responsibility was to care for every single person within that household before caring for yourself.
Right.
And now as people continue to progress, the Great Depression, all those things impacted the household. And as
Hmm.
a result of that impact, you also had women that started going to work. They started providing financially for the family, but the responsibilities of caring for the household remained the same. And so now you have where women are supposed to be providing financially for the household, at the same time providing a hot meal for the spouse, caring for the children, sweeping up the house, doing the laundry, and doing all those things. And then we have where COVID comes and COVID hits, because at one time you could have separated your life and say,
Right.
hey, I'm going to work and let me come back and I'll be able to do whatever. But now with COVID, you have, if you have three or four or five or six children who are schooling at home, you are working. You have to be
Hmm.
able to manage your job so you don't lose your job. You have to ensure your children are also getting the education that they need and the
Gosh. Yeah. And homework and and all that. Yeah. Yeah.
and
Right.
then you
Hmm.
also have to make sure your spouse gets hot meals, your children get the hot meals, the house is clean, the laundry is clean. So when exactly, when we think of change, do we think it is change or do we look at it as progression? Because we need to be able to see, okay, where are our male counterparts? Where are our other counterparts to be able to share the responsibilities? Because it is civilization, human civilization is progressing. So, with the progression of human civilization, how can we empower women to be able to move forward? Because at the end of the day, with all those challenges that's coming on, these are a lot of challenges. So, why can't
Yes.
we divide those responsibilities so a woman's life is not shortened by the responsibility that society is given to her, but rather we share those responsibilities so her life can be prolonged?
Hmm. Right. I think all truth, truth preached here. Um, get the t-shirts out. Get the t-shirts printed. Um, the one of the books that I read when I was in school to become certified was called it defined Kolb's learning styles and all that, but it was called Open to Outcome, and the all of it was designed to convince us that we really can't control how everything turns out. We do what we are led to do. We do our best, but we're being open to outcome and mindful so that we become more resilient. You know, you if you can't say, well, I'm going to do this, I'll do that, and then boom, because you do not know when there's going to be an accident on the interstate. You do not know when your car is going to have a flat tire, if you're not going to feel well, your child isn't going to feel well. But if you are open to that eventuality and the outcome, you become more resilient with the experiences that you have to face. But I'll tell you, the self care, the trust, compassion, and the stability for yourself, and hope that something you give yourself something to look forward to. And there's a philosophy. Actually, it's a teaching. It says hope deferred makes the heart sick. So if you keep deferring your hope, you'll get depressed. You get depressed because there's nothing on the horizon that is going to give you a sense of accomplishment and health. Mental health. You know, and yeah, when I was a child, my father was an entrepreneur. He had the first taxi cab business in the city of Wilmington, and he was very successful. And he never walked; he always was in a cab, and they called him Walker, just as a joke. They called him Walker, is his nickname. And he instilled in us such a desire to be creative and independent. Even though certain things happened in my life as a preteen and a teenager, um, he made us realize that anything ultimately we that happened was our responsibility in some way. That certainly there were things that could happen, and they did, but how we dealt with it, how we handled it, was up to us. Fix it or get somebody to help you to fix it. That you don't just you know don't
Yeah.
just be, even if you're on the right track, you know and if you don't move, the train's going to come and mow you down. You've got to move. You can't just stay stagnant. So yeah, goals, ambitions, and the idea of self-care and hope. Because you know so I wanted to talk about servant leadership in the community. um, the caregivers and the prevention organizations and the recovery organizations. I think leadership is taking a shift, regardless if it's a male, female at the helm. But I think leadership is learning that unless we really, you know, um, grow and bring up new leaders, we're just dictators. It's not about making the rules and everybody just follow, follow, follow. It's actually growing the next set of leaders, commitment to growth, and bringing up new people who feel challenged, who know the difference between behaviors and attitudes. One is documented, one can't be documented. You can't document an attitude, but you can document a behavior. You can see, the results of a behavior. And I believe that these organizations are realizing that there's going to be a lot less burnout and a lot less turnover if people are groomed for responsibility that is fulfilling and meets their calling and
Yeah.
what they're contributing. Yeah,
And that in itself, with you sharing about servitude and being able to hear your calling and stuff, also what I'm hearing is the importance and the understanding of ripple effects. So
absolutely.
if a person, as they go through and they're going through certain challenges and they're not able to find the support or the human support that is needed, then those challenges become mountainous. It will be difficult for them to be able to cope through those whatever difficulties, and now it can be passed on to someone else, whether it is a family member, whether it is a friend. It is transferable. And
Hmm.
while an attitude may not be seen, it is also poisonous. A negative
Oh,
attitude
absolutely.
can be
Yeah.
very poisonous. So, for
Hmm.
us as women, how exactly can women be able to support other women? What are some of the groups that are out there? What are some of the ways that women can empower each other? Because you hear it all the time when growing up, you're like, oh, me, I don't like hanging around the girls because women like too much trouble or whatever the case may be.
Hmm. Or women only complain,
Yes,
or whatever. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
And but not realizing the heavy load that is bestowed upon women to be able to care for the entire world, but little appreciation and little compassion is being expressed to them. But you also did make mention about the role switch. Both men and women are switching those roles
Right.
because in this world today, the world is similar to a bird. A bird with one wing will not be able to fly, but
Mm-hmm.
a bird with two wings will be able to fly. And it's just like women and men. If the world is only operational with just men, it is not reaching its fullest highest. If the
Exactly.
world is operational with only women, it is not fully reaching its highest heights. But if
Mm-hmm.
it have both of them that is functioning, then it will be great.
Mm-hmm.
But in
Great.
addition, yes, in addition to that, if the bird wings is um clustered with dirt and mud, and both women and men think that they have the power to be able to move, and there's always conflict going on, always violence going on, all the challenges that's preventing it, which represents the mud and the dirt
Mm-hmm.
on the bird's wings, then the bird will not be able to fly to its
Good
highest
one.
height.
That's yeah. That's a good analogy.
So, and that's where we are within society. We need to be able to embrace the unification of both men and women, because even if our roles and functions are different, we still have certain capacities that we can work together to be.
Complementary.
Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, that's why I think I think, and even it reflects with the way the horses are, the way they live their lives. They're always in the eternal now. They don't worry about tomorrow. Their heads are not full of all the things that we worry about. They see the sun, they see the grass at their feet, and that's all they worry about. They're
Mhm.
in the moment, and they have strong herd dynamics. You could have 6 or 7 horses, and there will be number one horse, number two, three, four, all the way down to that one that chose to be the bottom person because that's a safe place. They know the hierarchy of that team. So I think in comparison to humans, male and female complementary, children, whatever teams, um, when we find our place of strength to serve and to be, that's our safe place, that's our richest place to contribute and to be sane, because the moment we try to be something or someone else, it all derails. So taking responsibility for our strengths and our weaknesses and our overuse of strengths, which can really throw us out of balance, will be a powerful thing to embrace and become accountable and to grow. And once we're aware of that responsibility, we find strength based strategies for managing the weaknesses, for managing those weaknesses and not let them overpower us and make us, feel less than or weaker than, you know. Um, Sparrows don't try to be peacocks, you know. Yeah, and but sparrows are beautiful and they're functional, and everything has a place and a balance. And I think that a lot we bring a lot of stress on ourselves by comparison, and by thinking that we don't have something to give. But that sometimes has been fed into us too. Like, why aren't you as blank as she? Or why are you not as this? And then you start to absorb that, and then before you know it, a person, you're on medication for anxiety because you just can't
Yes.
compete. You
And
feel like you're less.
and
Yeah,
that is a great example of also sexualizing
absolutely.
girls and teenagers and women, that when you look at, when you do the comparison between boys and girls, a boy can grow and he can just have a shirt on, he can go and have a beaten up vest on, whatever the case is. But if a girl comes and puts on her house clothes to go out, it's like, you're following me like that? I'm like, my brother is dressed worse than me, so why are you looking at me and asking me
Yeah,
to
yeah,
go
that's
ahead
right.
and change? But they're not realizing we're actually creating women to. Oh, that's your dog.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, he's
Are you
unhappy, and so
like,
be it. Mhm.
yeah, I'm like, is someone talking
Yeah,
about?
that someone is having a problem there. No, he's fine. So,
Okay.
yeah, a little
But
embarrassing, but what do you, well, my husband's in Philadelphia in a meeting, so that's what I'm stuck with. I'm open to outcome, Dr.
yeah,
Alice. What can I say?
no problem. Would you need a
Mhm.
break? Because I'm about to show a video, and
Okay.
then if you need to go ahead and give your dog some attention if needs be.
Yeah, that would be a few minutes. Sure.
Okay, so let me go ahead and share this this video.
Wonderful. Okay.
So going on and screen share. So one of what, as we continue going through, and I wanted to just talk a little about the importance. Earlier on I was talking about how we can transfer those information from young with the children or on the children. It is so important for us to realize that if we have a child and we have girls and boys, we have to be very careful and be aware as to how we're influencing our children. Are we putting heavy recognitions on girls for them to look perfect, for them to always be well groomed, because you need to be able to be approachable? But on the other side, does it really matter what the male looks like in grooming? Even if within certain families and certain cultures, both genders have to be properly groomed, but knowing and being aware and being intentional as to how we're training our young girls and training our teenagers to identify who they are based on their gender. So to be able to embrace who they are. So this is a video that I am gonna show you, a TED Talk.
If I should have a daughter, instead of mom, she's gonna call me Point B. Because that way she knows that no matter what happens,
Mm, I guess it decides not to play now. Let's see. Okay, let's try the other video because this one is giving a little challenge.
170 years from now, women will earn as much as men.
Hmm.
At least she can always find her way to me. And I'm gonna paint the soul.
Okay, we're gonna start over this one. So I am not sure what is going on because the video is playing when it is not being StreamYard, but when it's being StreamYard, it is buffing. So not sure what exactly that is about. So gonna remove that. And then we'll just continue. The video was just talking about how we groom our children, our girls, to be able to have certain responsibilities that impacts them for the long run. So with April being Sexual Awareness Month, we also want to be mindful of what exactly are we also providing, what in tools, what part of our culture are we actually contributing to our children that ripples into the impact of victimization. When we think of grooming, when we think of the way in which they have to take care of the family, the way in which they need to be able to respond to individuals and not care for themselves as much, where their own need comes last, we need to be able to intentionally look at within our family cultures, look within our societal cultures, as well as our nation and religious cultures. Is there any practices that influence individuals to become victims of sexual assault? We might not
Hmm.
realize it, but there are many times they are embedded within our culture that we might not realize.
Hmm.
So one of the great examples is I a lot of my clients, when they come to me and they're victims of sexual assault, Many times, either their grandparents were victims of sexual assault, their parents were victims of sexual assault, and no one provided the support that they needed. So, as a result of that lack of support that the grandparents had, then it transferred to the parents. And because the parents didn't know how to get
Mm.
support that's needed, now it is transferred to them. And as a result, what we're also finding is individuals who were also victims of sexual assault, they also find themselves in domestic violence situations or unhealthy situations, because the concept of healthy relationships would
Oh boy.
not
Yes.
to them.
Mm-hmm.
So when we have clients, we're like, okay, what can we do now? Because now we're learning that this is not healthy practices. And if you continue, you're going to transfer that same practice onto your children and onto your grandchildren. So when we think of generational cycles of trauma, generational cycles of sexual assault, we want to be able to look at how does our culture encourages this, because it is not something that someone is just doing, but it is embedded somewhere that it becomes a practice. So, how can we break that practice?
Mm-hmm.
So, for us at Holistic Elevation, we created what is called Parents as Allies. And
Yes.
Parents as Allies is a training for parents to be able to become high supporters for their children, and to be able to know how to have conversations, how to be able to open the door to have those conversations, because there are still children who do not want, or teenagers who do not want to go ahead and talk to their parents about certain situations, because number one, they're fearful that, oh, if I go and tell my father, or I tell my brother, or I tell my mother, or I tell my grandparents, someone will end up going to jail. You hear that if I tell my family, they're gonna kill the person who did it. So I'll
Yeah.
hold
Mm-hmm.
that on to me, and I will not share it with anyone else. So the continuation of that victimization continues. And also when there's also the component where if a person is victimized and they go and they share it with the parents may be going through some financial hardship, might be going through some hardship, but because they are not trained, they might come and say, because you wear that short skirt, or you went and sit on the person's lap, or you were joking with the person, you asked for it, you
Right.
had something to do with it. And these are children and teenagers that you hear parents say that to all the time. And when the children come and say that, you're like, no, now we need to be able to look at where did that start? What generation did that start from? Because we need to be able to break it.
Mm-hmm.
There's also where when boys become victims of sexual assault, we're
Mm-hmm.
like, oh no, boy, you're the man. What up? We
Mm-hmm.
encourage it because now we kind of think that this is it. You actually have something that women want. So why are you upset? Like, go ahead and get it. Because there was also a few years ago, there was a news piece where I believe it was a high school student where the teacher had sexual intercourse with the student, and
Oh
the
yeah.
student went to share it with the father, and the father was upset that he came and tell it to him, because it's like, no, you're the man. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. But we need to be able to understand and recognize that a person who goes through and become that are victims of sexual assault, they can either become victims themselves and continue to be victims themselves, or they can become the perpetrators when they grow older. And this is where, for the mental health component, when we think of individuals who become perpetrators, we want to be able to see how long has that been going on with you, that you were a victim when you were a child, and the pain that you've been going through all those years, that's what you were accustomed to. So now that you're an adult, you're transferring that pain because that's the life you know. That's what you
Right.
so now you're transferring that pain of victimization onto someone else. And the cycles continue. So for me being in trauma, I need to be able to understand the ripple effects of trauma
Mm-hmm.
and how that it impacts the brain, because addiction is something that is very, very impactful on somebody's lives.
It
And
is.
regardless of what angle the addiction comes in, because the brain is so processed in what
Oh
you're
yeah.
going through.
Yeah, and there's brain changes that take place,
Yeah.
and yeah, and it's well, that's a whole nother show. Yeah, the the neuroplasticity
Mm-hmm.
course. I'm taking a course and understanding the concept of that. It's a wonderful thing the way that we're created, because there are ways to get around this, to get to exercise ways to cope with this these events. And it's almost the same as someone who mistreats animals. They will eventually mistreat a human being. They grow up with that, and then it ends up being, you know and then the whole sex trafficking realm is a whole nother women coming out of that. I support two organizations. Not, I donate to them, but just coming out of that and how they get involved in it in the first place is very, very dramatic. It's going in through addiction and then becoming
Yes. And also, I think for
involved.
individuals out there, when you think of help, I was in Louisiana, and when I was in Louisiana, there was a certain part, there are some laws that are still in existence. And within Arkansas, there is the law that a man can beat his wife, but he can only beat her on Sundays, but he has to bring her in front of the court, the court yard or
That's
whatever.
amazing. That's a written law.
That was one of the old time laws that are
Yeah,
still
yeah.
within the yes. So, and but then one of the things when I was in Louisiana and working around the sexual assault and stuff, one of the areas, there was one location in Louisiana, northern Louisiana, that stated that if your husband had sex with you, but and even if the woman did not agree, which falls underneath rape, because you are married, then this is not considered rape. So there were a lot
Hmm.
of individuals that had different responsibilities within the community, and they were being victimized by their husband, because within that city community, it was not considered rape. So
Hmm.
so when we look at all those historical impacts that influence the concept of sexual assault, we need to be able to look at how are we gonna progress, how are we gonna alter. And I'm trying not to use the word change, because change, part of our history is where this is what that was done during that time, but now we're at a different level, and we need to be able to alter those laws to reflect today's society, because women are human beings, men are human beings, and we need to be able to treat people like human beings. So what
Hmm.
are the laws and the policies that can be provided to assist with the progression of human civilization?
Hmm.
So it is so important for us to be able to see, for us as parents, going back to the parents as allies, for us as parents, we need to also recognize, are we shutting our children out if they are victims of sexual assault, that they do not feel comfortable to come and speak to us? That
Right.
an 8-year-old child holds on to the burden and the pain of being victimized by their step parent, by a schoolmate, by someone, because they do not have any allies within the community.
Hmm.
They don't
Right.
feel as if the school has their support. They don't feel as if the parents have their support. They don't have anyone within the community that they feel has their support. So, what can we do to be able to bridge those gaps? Because when we think of women supporting women, this is more than just
Oh.
creating a space for
Oh,
women
yeah.
to be supportive, but it's a space for us to be able to break history, because we don't want to make history that repeats itself. We want to break history by creating inconvenience for ourselves first.
Hmm. Yeah, that's right. That's where the parents as allies comes into play. Because I mean, after all, if your child, say for example, your child steals something, well, that's bad, that's wrong. But you don't hate the child for doing that. You still love the child. You don't love what they did, but you love the child. And as the parents ally, you're going to work through that with them, and create a a better way to, I don't know how to word that. I'm trying to avoid the word change now. Because you said, not change, but you know what I mean, to alter the pattern, say,
Yes.
of that. Yeah. Amazing. Hmm.
Yes, and this is things that we'll need to be able to do, because when people come and they say, "Hey, I want you to change your future," I'm like, which part of my family you want me to give up, or which part of my memory
Right.
you want me to give up? Because I won't be able to change it, but I can alter the
Hmm.
driveway or the path or the outcome that I want, because we want to be able to embrace our history. When it comes to our clients, we tell our clients, embrace your past, because your past is what empowered you to be here today. You be your own storyteller. You take your voice and you use your voice as a survival tool.
Yep.
Because many times, if a person come and say, "Hey, this is what I've gone through," we provide pity, we provide sympathy, which kind of emotionally drains a person than rather empowers a person.
Hmm.
So for
Hmm.
me, being a trauma specialist and a prevention scientist, I'm like, we need to be able to find ways for us to empower people as a coping tool for them to work through their trauma, instead of being shameful of the experiences that they have gone through. So we do not want you to change anything about you. We just want you to be able to alter or
Yes.
adjust the pathway that you would be going. So to be able to get the tools, get the strategies, get whatever that is needed for us to move forward.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, and then one of what that in the state of Delaware, we focus heavily on intervention. When we might celebrate something and might recognize it as prevention, but within the state of Delaware, we focus so heavily on intervention, where if something happens, we want to prevent, we want to provide the strategies to provide the coping skills. But one of the things, especially supporting women, supporting girls, and trying to prevent sexual assault, is for us to start looking at what exactly and how exactly is prevention being applied to what we're doing, because prevention is more than just preventing something from happening that has not happened yet. Prevention
Hmm.
is also preventing the escalation of a problem that has happened from getting worse. I can never say that word, always a tongue twister, exacerbating the problem. But it is also preventing, when you look at the public health module, the public health module also have the component of prevention. The SAMHSA strategic prevention framework helps individuals create programs that will ensure sustainability. So when we think of prevention weeks, we think of sexual assault prevention, we have to also start thinking of sustainability. How
Hmm.
can we protect our women, our girls, our males from being victims of sexual assault? Is not just coming in when something happened and say, "Hey, we're providing strategies to prevent it." In the state of Delaware, we also have to start intentionally thinking of prevention.
Hmm.
So I'm
I
a great
agree.
supporter
Yes.
of the integration of prevention and intervention for sustainability.
Hmm. Yeah, that's very interesting. We touched on that program that I'm doing with a colleague called Horses Helping Her, and this is with the equines, obviously, and it's they horses are great at sensing our emotional state. And I think I shared with you, maybe in a different conversation, that a horse can sense a human heartbeat from 4.5 feet away.
Mhm.
They can be, feel that and hear that. And they that's just the way that they're made, but they have unique subtle body language that they use to communicate. They don't judge, they don't lie, they don't have cell phones, they don't know anything but what's in front of them, and they give honest immediate feedback to our feelings and emotional states, and we're able to see ourselves through them, if you will. And I think when you go into the prevention thing, it anytime you're empowered by working with a 1,000-pound animal, that's going to give you some self-esteem. And
Mhm.
there's certain activities that are done with the equines, with these women, and with children, foster children particularly, because they have their own set of events and eventualities that have happened to them. But it is a very empowering thing, and those animals want to heal people. They want to help people. So as we construct these workshops, um, we're doing it deliberately and specifically for what we're trying to accomplish. We're not just saying, let's just go out and pet horses. It's going to be a great day. No, it's designed specifically for how can these horses serve and what's the best outcome. What can we really, get out of this for people?
Yes.
Really, concretely. Yep.
Yeah, and it is so important for us to be able to see what is the best way for individuals to connect. So, as you say, the horses, for individuals, connecting to the horses will be able to help them regulate their emotions, will be
Absolutely. Oh,
able
yeah.
to help them
Self-regulation.
process. Yes.
Yeah. And self-esteem, responsibility with children. It's teamwork, it's empathy, it's, responsibility. All kinds of things happen. I had one child who used to tell me at the end, I had these two foster boys, they were brothers, came for almost 2.5 years. Um, One boy would say, well, let me prepare Lucky Girl's food before I leave that she's going to get tonight. And okay, you can do that. Well, and then by the third week, I was saying, her son, why? What do you get out of that? Why do you want to? He said, I love her, and I want to know that when I'm sitting down to eat, that she's eating too.
Mm-hmm.
Something that I gave her, something that I prepared for her, because I want to give back to her. And I thought that was pretty, impactful. Um, children have parents that teach them how to steal and, all these horrible things. And I feel like, I just want to redeem some of that time and develop a new construct of behavior.
So,
As,
yes, and in areas like that, I usually tell people that parents have limitations, and due to
mhm,
the limitations and the experience that they have had, they and in turn transfer it to their children. Somehow, every time we talk about the limitations of parents, I'm talking about the statement about the parents teaching the children how to steal. This is the survival mode that they know,
absolutely.
so that parents teach the children what they know, and what they know might be learning how to steal to survive. So for and the reason why I try to be very mindful of the way that I word things and I have
Hmm.
conversation is because the mind is so precious. If I go to a parent, just imagine I go to a parent and I'm like, you're teaching your child how to steal. First thing that might pop into that
Oh,
parent's mind is, you're calling me a bad parent. I don't have
hmm,
anything on my table and I want to survive. So how dare
hmm,
you call me a bad parent? But if I come and I'm like, hey, it looks like the experience you have gone through in life has provided some tools for you. And as a result of those limitations, your child is learning from that and it's
hmm.
learning how to steal. So now you're creating an image for that parent to be able to know, hey, you know what? I'm passing on unhealthy practices to my children. And
Right. And don't you think it's defined by, it's like a lot of pain, the
yes.
generational pain and reactions and ways to protect themselves and just survive, you know?
Hmm.
Yeah,
So, yeah, so it is so important that when we speak to individuals, we do not
absolutely.
speak down to them, we do not make them feel less than, but we create the atmosphere that they can trust within the work that we're doing. They can feel connected within the work that we're doing, and you are doing a fabulous job within the community, to being able to provide trainings for organizations, being able to provide the equine services to the community for youth within trauma. So we
Hmm.
are doing great things within the community. We just need to be able to continue creating our legacy of change.
Yes, I
So you
agree.
remember I said change, the last
Yeah,
one.
I heard that.
Okay.
In my mind, it was in purple too. So
Yes. Yes.
neon. Yes. Oh my.
So, yeah, so as we're going through, to all the parents out there, all the grandparents, whether you have been a victim of assault, sexual assault, whether you are going through the pain of it, please find somewhere you can get the help that is needed. Because if we don't get the help that is needed, then we pass on the pain that we're going through. And when we pass on the pain that we're going through, it will be transferred to the next 3 or 4 or 5 generations. And that's how generational cycles of trauma continue, is when we do not find or seek the help that we need, because either we are secretive
Mhm.
of the pain we're going through, we might not feel the trust within society, or we might not want people to know of our family's dark secrets. And
Right.
as a result, it continues to transfer. So please, please, please find the help that's needed. And if you are within a culture that encourages sexual assault, find an ally within your community. Find someone within your community that you can confide in, that you can provide the support to. So please, anyone out there, if you are within the state of Delaware and you need the help, you can reach out to Holistic Elevation to be able to get the help that you need. And if you want to go through any equine trainings or services, we'll be more than happy to be able to connect you with Ms. Joanne, who
Yeah.
is also certified within her area of expertise. So
Thank you.
for us, you're most welcome. So for us, we want to make sure the community gets the help that's needed. We also, before we close and give Ms. Joanne the floor to say a few closing remarks, we want to also inform the community that for spring break in Delaware, we'll be having our STEM therapy camp, which is AKA our trauma camp. And the program is very fun. Kids, students love the program. We integrate intervention and other services within there, but we also provide hands-on um experience for the youth, where they will use music, they will use different things for them to be able to cope through that to process. And
Hmm.
yesterday we had the honor of one of our students who came in when she was 13 to be able to join us at the proclamation yesterday and to witness the signing of the sexual assault proclamation. And that was really, really key for her, because now she is graduating high school and she's going on and wanting to be that change within the community. But she's one of many youth within the state of Delaware that we have worked with through our STEM programs and our trauma camp program, to be able
Amazing.
to flourish and to be successful within life. So we are the change that we want to see within the community. So we continue to be inconvenient to ourselves.
Hmm. Very good. Very good. Um, I admire you greatly, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, and your accomplishments are just through the rooftop. So she's a force to be reckoned with,
Yeah,
America.
I'm like,
So,
please stop. Like, come, 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 please stop.
very good. Yeah, very good. So I just wanted to, encourage women, particularly during this term of time of sexual assault. Don't run from your feelings. You know, get get like Dr. Ellis said, find an ally. Realize that there is hope. That whatever happened to you is not the end of your story. You can't skip pages in your book. Every page has a reason. Every experience has a lesson. Everything is built to refine you, and the best is ahead. So just never ever let discouragement creep in. Don't be crippled by fear. That's my. And if you're interested in any of our programs, please let me know. We're having mindfulness workshops, and I'm going to have a manifest courage and embrace change mini retreat in the middle of summer. So, I wish
Yeah.
you all well, and just continue to do, your self-care. It's a great time to practice resilience with everything that's going on in this world. I think it's a real challenge for us to, embrace the opportunity to empower each other and just live our best life.
Yes. Thank you so much.
You're
So
quite welcome.
please, please, everyone out there, if you Find someone, find a community member, have your social conversation, have a chat and chew with your neighbor. Find something that will be able to empower you. Find someone you can confide in if you're ever going through anything out there. For the children and the teenagers out there, if you are experiencing any form of victimization and you might not have someone to talk to, please, you can reach out to us, you can call us, you can talk to us, and we'll be more than happy to be able to be your allies, because we are your allies and we are the community allies. So
Amen.
please reach out to us if anyone is facing any challenges, and don't be afraid to call 911 if you are experiencing any victimizations, because no one has the right to have control of your body. So
Mhm.
my name is Dr. Alice Leon Stevens, and it was a pleasure speaking with you guys today. Thank you, Miss Joanne, for being on.
Thank you very much for having me. I'll
You're
speak to you
welcome.
again soon.
Okay. Bye,
Bye
everyone.
bye now.